Hey guys, this is Clinton Jeff from UnleashThePhones.com, and here's a quick review of the Nokia Lumia 630. Now, Windows Phone 8.1 was announced a couple of months ago at Microsoft's Build conference to much applause because it finally brought the operating system up to par with its competition. Now, the 8.1 update isn't actually available for current devices yet, which makes the Nokia Lumia 630 one of the first devices running Windows Phone 8.1 officially out of the gate. The Lumia 630 was announced at Microsoft's Build conference right along with Windows Phone 8.1, and apart from being the first Windows Phone 8.1 phone, it also happens to be the first Windows Phone with on-screen navigation buttons, as you can see right over there. And it's also the first device to have Nokia's Sign update, which allows for a couple new features along with Windows Phone 8.1. Apart from the software though, it's a quad-core smartphone with dual SIM capabilities, because we have the dual SIM version in for review. All of this at a very affordable price tag with a 5 megapixel autofocus camera at the back and a removable battery and even a micro SD card slot. Now, we did a quick unboxing of the Lumia 630 before, so you can check out my video to see what you get with the box. Shockingly though, there's no micro USB to USB connector cable, and there's no stereo headset either, probably to keep costs low. Still, that's a little annoying not to have a stereo headset with a phone that you just bought. Starting with design, the Nokia Lumia 630 might be a budget phone, but you never guess it from the build quality. Just like the Lumia 620 from last year, build quality is really solid. There's no creaks or squeaks anywhere, and it really does feel like a very solid phone. The entire phone is made out of a soft touch plastic, and it's classic Nokia build quality, just like the rest of their Lumia phones. Now, with its predecessor, the Lumia 620 focused on vibrant colors to differentiate it from the rest of what you get out there. They've done that again with the Lumia 630. We have the white version to review, but it also comes with black, yellow, orange and green shells as well. The back is removable, so you can get another colored shell if you want. Now, last year's Lumia 620 was a compact phone that was comfortable to use, and the 630 is much bigger but slimmer this time around. It measures 129 by 66 by 9 millimeters, so it's not as comfortable as the 620 was last year, but it's still compact enough that it feels very easy to use and very comfortable in your hands, though it can be a bit of a stretch to get to all corners of the screen. Speaking of the screen, there's a 4.5-inch clear black IPS LCD screen, which is at 480 by 854 pixel resolution for a pixel density of about 218 ppi. Now, that's a huge increase over the 3.8-inch screen of the 620, but unfortunately it's the same resolution, just stretched over a larger screen. Now, the WVGA resolution wasn't a problem on the 3.8-inch screen of the 620, but on the 4.5-inch screen of the 630, you'll definitely see some pixelization and jagged edges on text. It's not too bad, but if you're used to a 720p screen or a 1080p screen on some other device, this will bug you. But apart from the resolution, the screen is actually kind of nice. The clear black display technology is hugely beneficial, allowing for much deeper blacks, as you can see. And the viewing angles are really wide, and brightness is also pretty high. Unfortunately, there's no ambient light sensor, so you're gonna have to use a toggle on the notification center to control the brightness. Though that being said, I still feel like colors are slightly oversaturated on the 630. Now, above the display you have a centrally located earpiece, but in a strange decision, the 630 does not have a front-facing camera, which is strange because the 620 did. There's also no ambient light sensor and no proximity sensor either. The lack of a proximity sensor is strange because usually all touchscreen devices have a proximity sensor which shuts off the screen when you place the phone next to your ear to make a phone call. Nokia probably removed it to cut down on costs, and instead they use a new technology where they use the touch panels at the upper part and lower part of the display that measures electrostatic voltage and will lock the screen when you're on a phone call. It works well enough, but you're gonna have to put the 630 really close to your ear for it to switch off the screen. Below the display, you'll notice that there aren't any Windows Phone buttons at all because everything is on screen now, which makes for a much cleaner looking phone. The on-screen navigation buttons work pretty well. You have a back button, a Windows Phone button, and a search button. The search button brings up Cortana if you've enabled it, or if you're outside of the US and certain countries right now, it will bring up a simple Bing search. You can customize a lot of things about the navigation button. So if you go into your settings and hit the navigation bar option, you can change the navigation bar to either be always dark, or match the background, or match the accent color, which changes the color, as you can see. Another nice thing about the navigation buttons is that when you rotate the phone, they rotate in place, unlike Android. So this is really useful because you always know where the navigation buttons are. Moving on to the rest of the phone, on the left side you have no ports or keys whatsoever, but on the other side you have the volume keys and the screen lock key. You'll notice that Nokia has dropped the camera key this time around. I'm not sure why again, but it does make for admittedly cleaner looking device. At the bottom of the phone you have the standard micro USB charging and connectivity port, while at the top of the 630 you have the lone headphone jack right over there. Coming to the back of the phone, you have the very neat looking back panel with a loudspeaker grill on this side and the 5 megapixel autofocus camera right over there. You'll notice that there's no LED flash unfortunately this time either. Like I said, the back panel is removable and it's really easy to get out. You can just clip it out, as you can see, which gives you access to both the SIM cards and the removable battery and the micro SD card slot as well. So this allows you to buy more color back panels if you want to change up the colors of your 630. So all in all, the Nokia Lumia 630 is a good looking phone and it does look very neat. It's also very well built, and personally I would still choose the green color one over the white color one. Coming to hardware, the Nokia Lumia 630 is powered by a quad-core 1.2 GHz Snapdragon 400 processor with an Adreno 305 graphics that run up to 450 MHz. There's also 512 MB of RAM, and there's also 8 GB of internal memory with a micro SD card slot as well. Now the same processor is used on other affordable devices like the Motorola Moto G, and to keep things running surprisingly fast and fluid on the 630, which is partly due to how well Windows Phone performs on budget hardware. That being said, I do feel like the 630 is limited by the 512 MB of RAM. Now you won't really feel that limit while you're running your day-to-day tools and apps, but you do feel it when you're running very intensive games. But still, for that price tag, that's a lot of hardware, and since it runs Windows Phone, the 630 is much quicker overall even compared to the Motorola Moto G. In terms of connectivity, there's 3G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and GPS. No NFC unfortunately, and as you saw at the back, it uses micro SIM cards. The Lumia 630 comes in two versions. It comes in a single SIM version and a dual SIM version. I just want to quickly show you guys how the dual SIM version works in case you are picking up the dual SIM version. Microsoft has done a very clever implementation of dual SIMs. For example, you'll see that there are two caller tiles right over there and two messaging tiles as well, each denoting SIM card slot 1 and SIM card slot 2. This allows you to keep your call log separate and your messaging log separate as well, or you can merge both the tiles if you want to. The Lumia 630 is a dual SIM, dual standby phone, so unlike dual active dual SIM phones, if you're on a call on SIM card 1, the second SIM card is temporarily disabled because there's only one transceiver in here. To get around this, Nokia has bought in a smart dual SIM feature in Windows Phone that will allow for seamless switching so that users can manage their contacts and communication much easier. This feature was built by Nokia on top of Windows Phone 8.1's dual SIM support, and it allows you to make sure that you're always reachable no matter which SIM card you're using. So Smart Dual SIM works in a very easy way. Basically, it allows you to forward a call from SIM 1 to SIM 2 or from SIM 2 to SIM 1 or between SIM cards, so that whenever you're unavailable on one number, it will forward any calls from that number to the SIM card that is being used. So this allows you to make sure that you're always reachable, and if you have two SIM cards installed, you can choose to turn this feature off completely or choose any of these options as well. So this, in addition to the fun color coding that allows you to differentiate between both SIM cards, does make managing dual SIMs much easier on Windows Phone. Apart from that, there's even more settings that you can configure. For example, you can choose which SIM card you can use for a data connection. You can also choose to configure SIM card 1 and SIM card 2 settings if you want. Apart from that, coming to calls or messages, when you are about to make a phone call, you can choose to toggle between SIM card 1 and 2 right over there. That is really convenient and really effortless, and it's definitely very smart thinking by Microsoft. Even when you're sending a text message, for example, if you're going to type a new message, you can toggle over which SIM card you want to use to send that message right in the screen itself. This all means that Windows Phone now has the most convenient and easiest implementation of dual SIM cards out of any platform so far. Right, so apart from being the first dual SIM Windows Phone, the Nokia Lumia 630 is also the first Windows Phone 8.1 Lumia with Nokia Sign firmware running on top. The sign update is a firmware by Nokia which adds a couple new features on top of the Windows Phone 8.1 update. But first, let me talk to you about Windows Phone 8.1. This is a huge update that brings a whole bunch of features such as the drag down notification center, which now allows you to see all of your notifications right over there and you can swipe them away. Unfortunately, you can't reply to a notification right here from the notification center, so all you can do is tap on a notification to open up the app to see it. There's also support for 4 toggles at the top that you can change if you want. You can see that I've set the toggles to be Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, camera, because there's no camera button over here. It's a camera shortcut, and a brightness toggle. But you can change it up to whatever you want. For example, you can change brightness to airplane mode or quiet hours or something like that. This is really nice. You can also choose to toggle whether you want notifications showing for any apps or not. I've done a separate video on Windows Phone 8.1, so you can check it out for a quick run through of what's new. That being said, there's no toggle for mobile data, which is a little strange, but you'll see that you finally can now see actual battery percentage right there when you pull down the notification center. There's also new customization options. As you can see, the start screen now allows you to set a background for it. This is really cool. Not all wallpapers look cool as a start background, but you can certainly change it up and set whatever background you want, like a picture of a loved one. And as you see, there's this really cool scrolling effect as you scroll around. Not all tiles are transparent, unfortunately, so not all tiles allow the wallpaper to be shown off, but you get a really fun, unique mosaic effect which looks kind of great. That being said, you don't have to set a background though, so if you don't want to set a background, you can just choose to remove it right over there and you'll have a standard Windows Phone like background. And in case you're not happy with the amount of tiles that you can see, you can also choose this show more tiles option, which allows you to put another row of tiles over here. But that being said, it feels like it's too tiny, so I actually prefer the default option where you have space for 2 medium tiles on the screen. Apart from that, there are a couple new features in Windows Phone, such as the very handy quiet hours feature. Quiet hours is basically a do not disturb feature that allows you to automatically activate it at certain timings. Quiet hours also works with your calendar, so that if you have a calendar entry that says you're in a meeting at a certain timing and the phone will automatically go into silent mode, you can also set an inner circle of people that can break through the quiet hours. Now, quiet hours basically depends on Cortana, so unfortunately this feature is not available in regions where Cortana is not available, which means it's limited to just the USA right now at the time of this review. But it does come in handy if you do have it enabled, and as you can see, you have a whole bunch of settings that you can toggle. But quiet hours depends on Cortana. Now, Cortana is the new voice assistant by Microsoft that's available only for US region devices. So unless you set your region to USA, you won't be seeing this. But Cortana is actually really cool. You can ask it basically all the questions that it's showing you right over there. It really comes in useful. You can make phone calls with it, set reminders, add notes, set an alarm, ask you to play your music. You can also say stuff like, remind me to pick up milk when I go to the grocery store.
Sure. Remind you when you get to grocery store. The closest one is Rishabha Wines on Baylor Road.
So there you go. So it's really useful. It comes in handy. I made a separate video on this, so you can check out our Windows Phone 8.1 review video and our Cortana video to see just how useful this is. Apart from that, Windows 8.1 also brings Internet Explorer 11, which is the latest version of Microsoft's web browser. It brings a nice reason. It brings a new reading mode, and it also brings support for unlimited tabs. Another nice thing is that you can also now swipe back or forward to go back or forward in a web page. Apart from that, Windows Phone 8.1 also brings a much better keyboard experience. So now when you're typing a new message, you can just glide to type, and it works pretty well, as you can see right over there. This comes in very handy, and the 630 is very comfortable to type on because of that huge screen. Of course, you can also type in landscape if you want, but it gets a little awkward because of the side bezels over here. So that's basically what you get with Windows Phone 8.1. With Nokia devices, you also get something called Nokia Sign, which is another firmware update that they put on top of Windows Phone 8.1. Nokia Sign does bring a couple improvements to the operating system. Most of these improvements are to do with Nokia Camera or Nokia Storyteller and Nokia Creative Studio, which are all apps that are built in. And for certain high-end Lumia phones, you get support for Dolby surround sound recording. Along with all of that, Microsoft has it covered with a whole bunch of apps that they have available, such as Bing Finance, Bing News, Bing Health and Fitness, etc., etc. And Nokia has a whole bunch of apps as well, like Nokia Creative Studio, Cinematograph, Nokia Glam Me, and my favorite app, Nokia Mix Radio, which allows you to stream free music and save it for offline as well. Mix Radio is definitely my favorite feature of any phone, of any operating system for that matter. Apart from that, it's the same old Windows Phone 8 experience that we've seen before. There's a solid phone book experience, there's a whole bunch of organization apps. So let's move on to multimedia. Coming to multimedia, the large screen of the Lumia 630 means that generally looking at pictures or playing video is nice enough on the screen. Everything looks really nice and pops out because of those oversaturated colors. Regarding music, there is Xbox Music, which you can listen to music on, but I still prefer Nokia Music for that. Sound quality is pretty good, and the loudspeaker at the back is also kind of loud. Though that being said, the music listening experience is definitely better via a pair of headphones. Moving on to the camera, the Nokia Lumia 630 has a 5 megapixel autofocus camera at the back, but there's no LED flash and there's no front-facing camera, and there's no camera key either. So it's clear that Nokia didn't really want to focus on the camera with this phone. That being said, you have the same great Nokia camera app, which offers a whole bunch of functionality. For example, there's manual focus, there's exposure settings, there's white balance, even ISO settings, everything that you'd expect from a Nokia phone. Shot-to-shot time is a little slow-ish, as you can see, but it's not too bad. But the Lumia 630 has an awfully small 1x4" sensor. The lens is a wide 28mm lens, but the aperture is just f2.4. What that means is that image quality isn't too great. Granted, it's not terrible at outdoor images in daylight, and results are more than usable with a decent amount of details, but you'll see that colors are usually off, and there's this weird bluish color and tint to some of the images. Indoor images are pretty much the same, with details getting more blurry and colors getting even more colder. You're gonna have to stay perfectly still to take any picture indoors, otherwise you'll get a lot of camera shake, as you can see from this image. Coming to video, the Nokia Lumia 630 can record 720p HD video, but again, the results are pretty much the same as with images. Of course, there are no drop frames, but results are fairly lacking in detail and dynamic range is usually bad. But to its credit, sound quality in recorded videos is pretty good. Moving on to call quality, the Nokia Lumia 630 has surprisingly average for a Nokia phone in terms of call quality. The earpiece could have been louder and voices could have been clearer. But to its credit, callers on the other end of my phone calls all said that my voice sounded loud and natural. Moving on to battery life, the Nokia Lumia 630 is powered by a 1850 mAh battery that's rated at about 12 hours worth of talk time on 3G. In my test with moderate usage, the Lumia 630 still had battery life at the end of my day. I was able to charge it every day and a half-ish, and you can see on light usage it can go for a very long time. And because it's a removable battery, you can buy another battery in case you need more battery life out of this phone. Alright, so to conclude, the Nokia Lumia 630 is a phone that's definitely meant for the masses. It has great build quality, the operating system is really fast, and the screen is large, and the camera quality is pretty decent. All of this at a very affordable price tag. Of course, there's a lot of competition out there, like the Motorola Moto G, which has a sharper 720p resolution 4.5-inch display, a slightly better camera, and slightly similar specs, but the Moto G runs the latest version of Android, and like the Lumia 630 is also available in dual SIM and single SIM versions. Now, though the Moto G is slightly more expensive than the Lumia 630, the Motorola Moto E is even cheaper. Though with the Moto E you get a much slower processor, a smaller screen, and the camera isn't as good, but you do get Android for a much cheaper price. To be honest, the Lumia 630 isn't a bad phone at all on its own. Windows Phone 8.1 and Nokia Sign bring a whole bunch of functionality, performance is really smooth, and the display is okay. And altogether it makes the phone a really good value for money. But unfortunately, Android has really picked up its pace and caught up in this price range, and the Moto G is really tempting because it's so closely priced to the Lumia 630. At the end of the day, the Nokia Lumia 630 is a solid offering, but we finally reached a point where Android has managed to catch up with a budget Windows Phone in terms of performance and pricing. Your choice is going to have to be whether you want the quick performance and okay camera and solid build quality of the Lumia 630, or the decent performance and wide variety of apps that Motorola's budget Android phones offer. But as always guys, if you have any questions about the Nokia Lumia 630, do let me know in the comment section below, or for more information you can check out our review over at unleashthephones.com.